Today's stitch, we are going to sew a Goldie Loungewear Petite Jogger, and we're going to talk about the saying studies show. Okay, so recently I was online and I got into a little bit of discussion with another individual who I have no idea who they are, and we got into a discussion about family size. Now, this individual decided that they should post on a mother of 12's Instagram page that it is selfish to have 12 kids, and that studies show that it's really damaging to children and their mental health if you have a big family. So I casually decided that I should comment, and I just let them know that I kindly disagree, and I think that it's, a little weird to start commenting on other people's lives, like commenting on other people's reproductive habits. So I let them know that I'm from a big family and that I think overall it has benefited me. It has taught me how to get along with other people and different personality types. It has taught me that life isn't fair, actually, that sometimes God gives different people different gifts. It has also taught me to really accept that people are just born the way that they are. I overall don't see being raised in a big family as a detriment to my health or my happiness. Rather, I see it as a gift that I have gone through things in life that 6 other people, my 6 siblings, can relate to a lot. And that really helps me to feel a lot less lonely in this world. The other thing that having siblings does is it gives you people that no matter what happens, no matter what differences you have, you have somebody that you could probably trust a lot more than your other average human, which is awesome. So anyways, this individual was telling me that studies show that it's really damaging, and then, and they sent me just a bazillion links, and I'm just like, I read the titles, and it's like, studies show that it's damaging for kids to be raised in big families, blah, blah, blah. It was like very clearly a bunch of articles written from an anti-big family perspective. The other thing is that, I don't know if you guys agree with this too, but basically I think a lot of times when it's like studies show, it just screams red flag. Like, it screams like I have an agenda. It's just, ugh. I mean, let's be real. Studies showed before that, the food pyramid was good for you. Turns out that's not true. It turns out they also don't have kids. They're 18 years old, which was kind of obvious right away. I'm like, you don't have kids, do you? Because you're judging someone else for how they're raising their kids in a really, really harsh way that it just seems like you don't have kids. Because a lot of people, when you have kids, you're kind of like, oh, I have to put my foot in my mouth a lot, because I have kids. I mentioned to this person, like, you say study shows, it's kind of obvious to me that you don't have children. And they're like, well, how is that even relevant? And I said, well, it's a little bit relevant because I think having kids changes you. It changes you in a way where you can experience empathy like you never did before, And their response was, I don't see how this is relevant, and sorry, but I don't need to have kids to become a good person. And I was just kind of like, okay, well, we're just being snarky here now. The point really isn't that I wasn't a good person before. Whether I'm a good person or not, we'll leave that up for debate. But the point is, it's like no matter how good of a person you're starting off, so even if I was a really crappy person, it's like even the good people get better after you have kids. Even the bad people typically get a little bit better after you have kids because it unlocks this potential for love like you've never known before, and for empathy. Like, you look at these little children and you have so much empathy for people who, are just struggling to make sense of the world. And so it makes you see even adults as like, just a little bit more childlike, or like we all have that in us, just that you're born, you are who you are, and you're just, I don't know. It just makes you a better person. And anybody who's had kids, I think, can objectively look and be like, wow, I am a less selfish person than I used to be, and I'm a more well-rounded individual than I used to be. And I just have a lot more empathy and compassion for everyone in this world. Now, as a fellow smart, I did indulge in this other individual's argument just because it's like kind of fun to me. And you know what? I can relate. I mean, when I was 18, I thought I knew a lot, and I did know some. I wasn't like a total idiot raging the world, but like, just when it comes to kids, like, in raising kids and like what that's like to be a parent, like, I really didn't know anything. I knew I wanted to be a mom, but I didn't really know like how being a mom would change me. I believed all the older people when they're like, having kids is the best thing in life. Like, you'll never regret the kids you have. So from that perspective, I'm like, well, if all these older people are saying it, like, that's probably true, and you only get one shot. So that's one thing that I didn't want to mess up. The other thing that was said a lot was like, you can't possibly have time to raise X amount of kids or 12 kids. Like, that's not enough time to give to the kids. And I was just thinking about this, and I'm just like, I just don't I'm just not buying that. It's not like you have all 12 kids at one time. We don't have litters of kids. We have usually 1 to 2 kids at a time. And to pretend that an 8-year-old needs as much time as an infant is just kind of crazy. Like, I actually do think that a lot of people have the capacity to have 12 kids. I think a lot of people have the capacity to love lots of kids and provide a healthy, stable home. I actually think that the number of kids doesn't impact your mental health. I think what impacts kids' mental health the most is whether or not they grow up in a family with 2 loving parents in a house that's doesn't have a lot of chaos. I think kids thrive in consistent environments. They know their parents love each other and they don't have to worry about mom and dad getting divorced or, and obviously, like, yes, there's a certain financial standard where, like, to be able to provide your kids a shelter and food, that's good. Like, obviously, but kids don't care how big the house is. That's more us parents. We're usually the ones that are sitting there thinking like, oh, I need this nicer stroller or whatever. Don't get me wrong, those things are nice to have while raising kids, but that doesn't actually go into like to fill your kids' love tank or quality time. So yeah, so I was in this argument and it just got me to think, like, what do you guys think? Like, the other thing about statistics, even if you take like a basic entry level statistics class, is that statistics and studies like that can be so easily manipulated and they're insanely hard to replicate, which means that if you're unable to replicate a study over and over again, that chances are it's probably just a fluke and not actually the truth. So unless like when it says studies show, it could just literally mean like in this study, whatever. And I just usually don't buy it, especially stuff like that. Like, sometimes in life, like, yes, anecdotal evidence isn't everything, and sometimes it's silly to just use anecdotal evidence, but in general, like, there's certain things where I just really trust my gut, and it's like, if you're expecting me to believe that having less kids and not having big families is just way better for your children you have, and that having large families is selfish, I'm just not buying it. And I'm not going to buy it from an 18-year-old that's never had kids, because it's just like, they don't know that feeling. They don't know what it's like to see your kids interact with siblings. They have no clue. They just know what they know. And oh, I trust the research and trust the science. Like, anyways, what are your thoughts? Do you guys think that having a lot of kids is detrimental to your other kids? So those are my thoughts. Let me know if you agree or disagree. So thanks for joining me on today's episode of Stitch.